Hello everyone, thank you for joining the ESRIC webinar. So what we'll do, we will introduce the Startup Support Program. I'm Larry, Startup Support Program Lead. We'll be with Olivier from the Technoports. Delia will be there from ESRIC and Catherine as well, our director. So if you have some questions and so on at the end of the webinar, please feel free to ask your questions, any doubt you might have, or any request that you have. That's the objective of this webinar. So thank you very much for being there. It's planned for 1 hour. We might finish it a little bit earlier. If you don't have questions, please do not hesitate to share. We will try to respond to all of your questions, or if not, just try to respond afterward or through our website or through emailing, just to provide you sufficient information. So the content of this webinar will be in 4 parts. I will briefly introduce the European Space Resource Innovation Center, who we are, the Startup Support Program, which is the most important for this webinar. So providing a lot of information for our first cohorts, what it is about, and of course, provide you the expectations and what is delivered through the Startup Support Program, and of course, give you an introduction of the next steps. I will just wait a second because there are some people trying to join, and I think some might have some technical issues connecting, so I will just wait a minute. Please apologies for the short delay, just to be sure that you can all attend this webinar and benefit from our support, besides the Startup Support Program, of course. For your information as well, there is a small delay the time the information is delivered to you. So if you have questions, we will for sure respond to all of your questions. We will take a note of them and provide you as much information to be sure that we respond to all of your questions. Thank you very much for joining again. So, as you know, ESRIC is a European Space Resource Innovation Center. We are located in Luxembourg, and we are trying to be recognized as a center of expertise for scientific, technical, business, economic aspects, everything that's related to space resource economy. And of course, for information, we have been founded by LSA, which is the Luxembourg Space Agency, by the list, and with our strategic partner, which is the European Space Agency. And we are closely working with the Technoport for all the incubation program, which is a little bit the objective of this webinar. So we have 4 more pillars. I will not spend too much time here because you probably know what's about. Right now we have a research pillar, a knowledge management and community management pillar, and of course a commercialization part, which is very important right now, which is part of the Startup Support Program. So we are the first worldwide incubation program which is entirely dedicated to space resources. So what we are aiming to do is supporting early stage ventures, projects entirely dedicated to space resources. The Startup Support Program, what is it? So first, in terms of organization, it's organized twice per year. So twice per year, we have a call for applications, usually in winter, another one, or in autumn, or in summer. It depends. We try to see what's the most convenient events, and we open a call. So this is our second call right now. That's closing on the 25th of September, but I will come back to that later. It's organized in 3 phases. The Startup Support Program, there is a phase 1 for 3 months. There is a phase 2, which is an incubation program of 24 months, and a phase 3, what we call a post-incubation residency phase for 36 months. I will give a detail about the program just afterward, but just to give you a brief overview of how it's organized. In terms of scoping, it's for early stage ventures, startup, and for projects. So you don't have to be incorporated if you want to apply for the program. The only key elements are you need to have a concept, an idea, a project related to space resources, which have an existing business application, I would say terrestrial applications, and or space applications. And that's the key elements. If you have a project, an idea which is EO, Earth observation, for example, I would say it's mainly out of scope, but let's first focus what's in scope. The program, as I mentioned, it's organized in 3 phases. We have the first phase, which we call the pre-incubation or concept proofing, which is organized during 3 months. It's in remote, so if you are pre-selected during your application, you don't have to be located in Luxembourg. That's a key element. It's for startups or projects from all around the world, so there are no limitations in terms of applications. You can be from wherever you are. So we are doing it entirely in remote during 3 months. So 5 projects are selected to be part with us, and we work closely with them during those 12 weeks, very intensive program. After that, the phase 2, the incubation phase. After the phase 1, there is a kind of application for the phase 2. One of the applicants of the first phase will be incubated physically here in Luxembourg. So you will have to be located in Luxembourg during 24 months. Can be between 18 or 24 months, but it will be physically present in Luxembourg. So you will have to register your company and being here at the Technoport. So after that, after those 24 months, after this phase 2, you might apply for third phase, which is what we call it post-incubation, residency phase, which is mainly for business development phase. So you already developed an MVP, a POC, an MVP, I would say a technological valid ID project, and you might have applied for something which is more for BD aspects, and it's up to 36 months at the Technoport as well. The main element of each phase, the phase 1, it's more a concept validation phase. So as I mentioned, with the 5 startups, we work intensively, the 5 projects, sorry, we work very intensively to develop and to work with you to have a clear and concrete concept for the phase 2. During the phase 2, one of the projects will be selected and it will be a prototyping and POC testing phase, and then there is funding up to 200,000 euros from 18 to 12 months. For information, we'll get back to that. It's entirely non-dilutive and non-refundable. What you get, it's really non-refundable. We don't take any equity, any stake in your projects. It's up to you. The IP remains up to you. We don't take any appropriation on that. In terms of the benefits, because there are always benefits for you, you will have technical equipment and support from ESA Space Solution. You will have access to facilities at ESA, at ESRIC, of course, at LIST, Luxembourg Institute of Science and Technology. You will have plenty of support from our external partners. It's upon request as well. So if your project requires some specific needs and that we don't have the capabilities, because it's for sure we don't have all the capabilities for all projects, we worked with several partners to respond to your needs and try to create some links, partnerships, even if it's during the program, to ensure that you can meet them and test your concepts. And of course, you will be part of the ESA Space Solution Network, which is a non-valuable asset for you and for your projects with us. You will have funding opportunities. You will have access to a program which is funded by ESA and LSA. It's not a mutually exclusive funding project. So if you want to request additional project to any additional existing bodies, it's acceptable. You don't have to be entirely funded by ESRIC. You can ask private and public funding, and we are helping you get to that. And of course, you will be located in Luxembourg, which is a key space player in terms of space resources right now. In terms of process during the application for the phase 1, because there is an application for the phase 1, this is the call for application for which you apply. At least we expect that a lot of you will apply. There is a 4 phases project, so an application phase, then we review the eligibility criteria, respond to you. Then there is a pitching session. You defend your ID, try to show us that you have the best ID, of course. And after that, we'll revert back to you, and the selection and the decision will be provided, and you can start the pre-incubation phase, which I remind to you you don't have to be physically present. It's very important. We received a lot of questions regarding that. Do we have to be present? Because there is no funding during the phase 1, but you can attend. You receive a different type of funding. You benefit from our assets, from people from ESRIC, from people from LIST, from the support from ESA, and from additional partners. I will get back to that just afterwards. In terms of targets and support objectives, what do we expect from our applicants? We don't want that you start from a TRL of 9 or 8 or so on. We try to be in a certain level for our program. I think that TRL from 3, 2, 3, 4, and a CRL, commercialization readiness level, commercial readiness level from 2, 3, 4 are the best candidates. Of course, if you have a TRL of 8 or 9, that's perfect, but that's just to give you a range of where you have to be located more or less. We don't fund project with a TRL of 0, so a pure concept, it's a little bit out of scope of what we are looking for, but still you still have to have an idea, a concept, technologically or mechanically speaking. So the range that you see here, the green one, that's the scope of our first cohort. The 5 candidates we have selected during the phase 1 in the winter 2021 were located around that, just to give you a small overview. In terms of scope of space resources, for your information, it's a space resources incubation program. So your business, your concept has to be located somewhere all along the space resources value chain. This is not exhaustive. Sometimes it has to be refined, discussed. We have a committee that discusses. Sometimes it's not black or white. It might be gray a little bit, but the ideal scope of project has to be located somewhere between prospecting activities and manufacturing or supply activities. Might be also transportation activities on the moon related to space resources or any celestial body. I mean, I'm mentioning the moon here, but it might be any celestial body. Communication and system navigation, robotic systems, or for power. Please consider that the notion of space resource has to be considered. If you are bringing any resource from Earth, sometimes, again, it's not black or white, might be considered a little bit of out of scope. So coming with a nuclear power system to facilitate activities on the moon is a little bit out of scope. Not because it's nuclear, but it's just because you're bringing something from Earth. For your information, something which might be also very important is to show you where does our first, I would say, first program incubatees come from. As you see, they come from all around the world. One is coming from USA, one from Switzerland. We have one from Luxembourg, from where we are, a German company, and a Polish one. And all have activities spread all along the space resource value chain. We have, for information, Adventures Interstellar, anisoprene, Astroport Space Technologies, 4-point, and orbit recycling. And you see in the definition of the activities, they have a totally diversified activities. Anisoprene, for example, is doing 3D activities. Astroport is providing lunar landing pads. 4-point, Polish company is doing swarm robotics for autonomous transport systems, transporting regolith from point A to point B currently on the moon, but potentially on any celestial body, and orbit recycling, which is extracting metals from orbital space debris on the moon. And all have potentially activities on Earth, so meaning terrestrial applications, and for the moon. To give you here an overview of their activities, you see on the top left anisoprene doing the 3D activities, Adventures Interstellar, low-cost lander, right. Down left, don't see it very clearly, it's 4-point, the Polish startup. Astroport in the middle, doing landing pads, and orbit recycling on the bottom right. Extracting value from space debris, so really combining 2 types of activities. Those are our point of contact. Those startups, some have projects, some are not incorporated, but as you have seen, the idea is not to be incorporated. The idea is that during the phase 2, you're incorporated. So if you have a good project, ID, concept, I mean, a little bit more than ID, but more concept, you might be eligible for the first phase of the ESRIC Startup Support Program. Concretely, what's expected during those 12 weeks of program? So we are working on different aspects. We want to really qualify and validate the early stage, the ID generation, close to a business plan. The idea is not to have a business plan during your application, but that we refine and we develop it during the 12 weeks incubation program, and after that, that we have an advanced business plan during the 24 months when you will be at the phase 2. So we are working on 3 main elements: on business activities, technical/technological activities, and of course on PR aspects, communications, and so on. During technical phase, we validate your technical concepts with our support, with external support, might be different external parties. We'll get back to that afterwards. We want to define with you your current fact sheet, your technological fact sheet of what you are doing. We want to be sure that you have something after the 12 weeks. In terms of business, we want to be sure that you address properly your market strategy. What are you targeting? Do you know your competition, the existing alternative that might exist? Example, a concrete example, if you have terrestrial applications, if you target space applications, you need to know at least what's happening in terms of terrestrial application. Are you sure that you are targeting all type of application to be able to generate a short-term revenue, not only considering longer-term revenue for targeting space activities? So we really want to formalize with you a business model, how you will work and how you will develop your activities with us. And of course, we identify with you all the business risks, which more or less what you have seen is that the deliverables during this phase are more kind of a business plan. And the third element, it's really what we call the strategic communication deliverables. We develop with you a product and company fact sheet, a concept teaser video that you can use and promote on social medias in front of investors to get additional funds. So of course, if you find external investors during the program, it's perfect. That's great. That's the objective of the program, that your ideas, your concept can attract additional investors. That's really the objective of the program. And having an investor deck where you can show what you have. It's more an additional, more elaborated application pitch deck that you submit during the application of phase 1. This is how the program is structured, at least how it was structured for the first cohort. So we have 12 weeks program. It's split in 6 working packages. As you see there is a technical one, a business one, a communication one, and a cross domain. So during each working package, we work intensively with you to be sure that you respond to different questions, different targets, and that you provide deliverables which might be used at the end of the 6th working package for the application for the phase 2. And why it's very important, I will see that with you during the next slide. It's all the deliverables that are met during the phase 1. When you will be selected at the phase 2, it will be the key element to unlock directly a 50K funding. So when you will start starting your company in Luxembourg after the registration process, you will directly unlock a budget of 50K to start your activities. This is how the program is structured, how we work. Some of our partners. So during the first week, we have a kickoff. The first day, we provide you the element that we are looking for: product specification, value proposal. We look with you for your customers, your competition. No, that's during the 2nd working package, sorry. But those are the key elements which are necessary to start. So you see, every working package is more or less built on each other. So like the program, we have phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and within each phase, we work on different working packages to be sure that every time the working package will be necessary. I mean, the previous working package will be necessary to respond to the elements during the next working package. So you have seen we have a kickoff. During the 2nd working package, we validate with you the deliverables of the first week, and those one will be very important because, as I mentioned just before, all of the deliverables which are met during a working package 2 weeks stream will be necessary to unlock a budget when you will start the phase 2 of the program, which I wish you. So when you are selected, just before continuing on the working packages, just to give you a brief ID overview. The one will be selected will get the funding of 200K, but the others which are non-selected, the idea is to continue and work with you on different other approaches. So the deliverables which will be met during the first phase will be necessary. That will help you get additional funding, getting support from any potential space agency, might be Luxembourg Space Agency, but might be also CNES or DLR or any worldwide space agency. So the idea is that the deliverable that you have met during the phase one will be necessary for you, and it will be very valuable deliverables. So and so on, and you see that during each working package, there are specific consultants we work with. Might be support from direct support from ESA, from LIST, from the Colorado School of Mine. We work with specific consultants from Helix Space, from Black Swan Space. For during the third working package, weeks 5 and 6, we work with a media provider helping building your teaser video that you can share on LinkedIn. You can see right now for the first cohort on LinkedIn, eventually that we'll share as of next week on a weekly basis, so you can see what they have developed through the program. So we'll start with Adventures, Interstellar, then Anisoprint, then 4-point, Astroport, and Orbit Recycling. So you can see and attest by yourself what they have done. And you see, it's not a 1 or 2 weeks deliverable. It takes several weeks to build that. So we start, and I just want to remind you, it's very intense. It takes 12 weeks, and I can assure you that you can ask. You could ask to the previous cohorts how they feel about that. You can see the testimonials on LinkedIn, and you see that every working package has some specificities. During work package 4, we work with different consultants, including Aaron's for the IP strategy, which will also help you. That would provide the support for the company setup in Luxembourg when you finish the phase 1. And of course, the 5th working package will be technical support, reviewing with you the technical and commercial risk aspects. And the really last working package will be focused to prepare the application for the ESA, what we call ESRIC Start-up Support Programme, which is an ESA process. Just to give a word of phase 2. So after the phase 1 completion, there will be a selection process, I said, to apply for the phase 2. Only one of the 5 will be accepted in phase 2 for a period of 24 months. So it will be a physical presence with along a company registration in Luxembourg. In terms of support, there will be additional technical and business support provided for the upcoming 24 months during the phase 2. There will be around 100 hours of business support, 140 hours of technical support, and only from ESA 140 hours of support, with which you might have access to the facilities in terms of robotics, CDF, and any type of other support. What you get as a financial support is also important. It's 200,000 euros, which is non-equity, so non-dilutive and non-refundable funding per startup per cohort, which is split between 2 schemes, I would say, an incentive scheme and a boost scheme. So as I said again, during the incentive scheme, the 50K, it's what you will unlock more or less automatically through the deliverables you have done during the phase 1 of the Startup Support Program. An important element is the eligibility requirements. I think that we'll have a lot of questions regarding those ones. So to be eligible to the Startup Support Program, you need to have an activity linked to space resources, and more precisely to space resource utilization. Your company, for the company you request the funding, need to be incorporated by less than 5 years. So if you're incorporated by 8 or 7 years, you are not eligible to the program. You need to have a sustainable business plan through potentially terrestrial and space activities. We don't fund as such research activities. We are looking for entrepreneurs, people who have innovative ideas with consolidated teams. When during the application, we will ask you your team composition. it's always more appreciated. What makes sense to have usually a researcher, an engineer, and a BD support guy. That's always helpful. I repeat, we don't provide funding for research activities, at least through the Startup Support Program. We fund activities. We want to be sure that your activities will generate a future and, of course, a revenue in the coming, I would say, in the short term. It's difficult to say because we don't want to say you have to be profitable in 5 years or 2 years or 3 years. It depends, it's on case by case basis. At least provided that you can generate a revenue, not in 15 years, not in 20 years, but that you have an idea of something concrete in the short term. Again, it's not concrete science, it's business as well. The idea, it's sure that with 200k euro, you will not go anywhere on the moon, but the idea is we want to be sure that with the 200k euro that you will unlock during the phase 2 will be a trigger for you and for your activities through your POC, through your MVP, to unlock something in addition afterwards. That's what you have to prove us to be eligible to the program. And we do that during the phase 1, of course, a little bit during the application phase. Then we develop that during the phase 1, and after that during the phase 2, of course. So again, I repeat, the idea is to provide funding for entrepreneurial activities, not research projects. You will have to be located in phase 2 in Luxembourg during phase 2. This is a key element. Your R&D will have to be located here, and your IP will have to be located in Luxembourg as well. So if you meet all those criteria, having application in the space research utilization field, you are incorporated by less than 5 years, you have midterm sustainable business, you have an idea of your business plan that will generate revenue with terrestrial and or space application in short term, if you're an entrepreneur, if you expecting, it's okay for you to be located in Luxembourg, apply to the program. I mean, ladies or gentlemen, please feel free to apply. The call is open until the 25th of September. I will be at AAC next week to respond to your question. We can meet. I will be there with the Luxembourg Space Agency at the Luxembourg booth. So do not hesitate if you have any questions. We will be available to respond to all of your questions. Contact us. Do not hesitate. Stay tuned. That's very important because we are already considering the next call for application. So the SSP 3, which we will give you more information during the Space Resource Week in 2023. We don't have yet a clear date. I think it will be something between April and May. So stay tuned. And of course, for all our commercialization activities, we will start sharing as much as information. And for all SSPs, Startup Support Programs calls, we will share much more information. So you can contact us, me, Larry Koshko, at ESRIC, or at contact@esric.lu. And of course, Olivier Zephyr, with which I work very closely. He's our main, the Technoport is our main partner in this journey, the space journey with you. So do not hesitate to contact him as well, or contact us generally. And right now, if you have any type of questions, please do not hesitate. We will try to do our effort to respond to all of your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Larry, for having resumed currently this complex program, but of high value under the different phases. And just a little word from Technoport, Technology Business Incubator. For it is a great venture for ourselves, consolidating with ESRIC, this opportunity currently for early stage ventures to address the SRU domain. And before continuing, what the program is about, I will also now leave room to question. We have one initial question from Leopoldo Martinez. The question was about, can I be a solo founder? Is it necessary to have a team? So before leaving Larry complement a technology business incubator about an application to address a venture, we highly recommended you to build a team to address such a challenge. Larry has specified this is 12 weeks, this is 12 instance week of describing a technology business proposal addressing SRU application. We highly recommend that you at least identify who can be your core partners within that team. We don't underestimate that you can be a solopreneur, but believe us, given the experience we have on entrepreneurship, it is currently a clear need to be able to be a consolidated team. That said, if you have currently the needed substance, as Larry pointed out, the different elements you need to be eligible, we do welcome your application, but please do take in notice to be competitive. You need to be able to have a team just for the sake of distributing the task and to be able to achieve the program. And currently, one tips and tricks from technology business incubators: in front of your future partners, being alone is a risk. So this is also the why we highly recommend to be a team, so as you can ensure the continuity of your venture.
And of course, I mean, as Olivier has mentioned, just to finalize on that point, Leopoldo, you can of course apply for the phase 1. It's just that if you consider remaining alone for the phase 2, there is a big risk, just to be totally transparent, that you will not be selected as be part of the phase 2, because we don't think that for this extremely complex type of activities, which is space and space resources, which is a new market, a solopreneur can be. I mean, that's what we consider. There are always exceptions. We will be happy that you prove that you are an exception. That will be more than happy. We will be more than happy on that. But please consider building a team.
We are not receiving any more questions. We can stress the application phase. So as Larry pointed out, the application is open until 25th 11:59. I do believe we will receive it before that. If you have any issues under the application program platform, sorry, don't hesitate just to shoot us an email. Our point is to collect as much as application possible. Of course, sustainable application. I do believe if you're here, you want to build a sustainable application, and I do believe that you've got much overview. And as Larry has pointed out, do visit the ESRIC LinkedIn page, where you have much information currently communicated about the current incubatees and what we have achieved so far. So we've given you clearly some guidelines, and I do believe on the platform you have much elements describing what is the needed element to apply.
And of course, you can still reach us. In Luxembourg, we are very, very flexible. We are a startup as well, so do not hesitate. You can contact the previous cohorts. You have seen them, you met them through LinkedIn, through different social networks. Ask them questions. Do not hesitate. It's good. They are all around the world. If you're in US, contact us support. If you are in Europe, you can contact Orbit Recycling in Germany or 4 Point in Poland. Do not hesitate.
It doesn't seem that we have any questions so far, Larry. It seems that you've been as perfect as usual. You're very good at presenting.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So dear attendees, don't hesitate to ask any question to us. We look forward receiving your application to interact with you as any mean. If you're at IAC next week, as Larry pointed out, it will be a pleasure exchanging at the LSA, Luxembourg Space Agency booth.
We will wait a little bit, so if there are no other questions, we will close the session. And as a reminder, if you are located in Luxembourg, we are here. If you come from all around the world at AAC, we will be there. Do not hesitate to reach us out. There is a question coming. So happy to see a question. That's good. We are challenged.
So we have a question for Marshall. So if a company is not presently located in Luxembourg, how could that work in phase 2 in practice? A subsidiary, a branch, or an office? Well, currently, Marshall, our point for mentioning that the company needs to be present in Luxembourg is currently it's an eligibility criteria. Currently, to be able to be supported by the current support fund from Luxembourg, you need to have a local entity. That's why we switched from phase 1 to phase 2. The phase 2 meaning that you will have this POC, proof of concept type of activities as pointed Larry, which will be ongoing from Luxembourg. So to be able to unlock that support fund, it will be to the local entity being present in Luxembourg. I hope that answers to your question. And of course, we are flexible for you having subsidiaries elsewhere. And believe us, from Luxembourg, we build quite complex organizational structures and to cover up all over the world. But practically, as you pointed out into your question, to be able to unlock this phase 2 fund, you will have to currently open a local entity here in Luxembourg.
I hope it responded to your questions. Because we want to be sure that it's clear. I think this phase 2 had a lot of questions in terms of localization in Luxembourg and so on. So again, I just want to re-precise that during the phase 1, you can be located in your home country because we are running the program in remote. So no worries with that. But in phase 2, for technical aspects, you will have to be located in Luxembourg and run your business from here. We don't ask you if you have terrestrial activity and if you want to develop another project, technically speaking, you want to develop another project dealing with ISRU, with space resources, you can have another entity potentially doing that, but you could have this entity from Luxembourg to be eligible to, of course, to the funding. There is another questions. Is it possible to arrange some sort of matchmaking session for solo founders with an idea to find like-minded individuals from the ESRIC network? Good question. As such, the ESRIC Startup Support Program doesn't fund solo founders. For phase 1, it's okay. If you have an idea of a research project, clearly that you want to be part of, that you want to develop with ESRIC, that's why we have the 4 pillars in terms of activities. We have a research, because that's what we are. We are a research center in the field of space resources. This is our core activity. We have a commercialization part, which is called the Startup Support Program that we are running with the Technoport. Yes, but for individual project ID, research IDs, it's on a case-by-case basis. So it's difficult to respond like that. But to get the funding of 200,000 euro through the Startup Support Program in the 3 phases, then you need to have an entrepreneurial, I would say, ID concept to be eligible for that. I hope it responds to your question.
And to add up to that, Larry, indeed, to give some few more elements to Pradyumna. Well, arranging on matchmaking. First thing, please do send your application if not already done. The point of you sending your application, first you need to be eligible, as Larry has pointed out much, into that phase 1 to see what is the substance you have in that technical concept that you want to bridge to a commercial proposal. On that basis, within the 12 weeks of maturation program, is if your major need is to find partners, and this is what we want to be able to consolidate. Of course, we won't be able to delegate all our power into you, bridging you into potential partners, but we can, what we call in our technical terms, we can make meaningful noise for you to reach through our network potential interested partners, meaning if you go through the threshold of first being selected for phase 1, for sure one of the core focus will be to consolidate your team. But I do advise more mature concepts or concepts that currently have already teammates, because this is one part of currently the entrepreneurial venture. One critical factor is to be able currently, as per you're starting now, to be able to find your co-founders.
Any other questions? If not, I will say goodbye to everyone. Thank you very much for having attended this first webinar for the ESRIC Startup Support Program. We will of course consider additional ones to provide you, to keep you informed what's going on and so on. We don't have a date right now, precise dates of organizing the next one, but for sure we will consider that. If you have even recommendations, do not hesitate to send us email. And if you have questions, again, this is very important. If you have questions, doubts regarding your application, please do not hesitate. Contact us through email, through me or Olivier. We'll be more than happy to respond to your question. Usually we try to respond very fast. might be technical question regarding IT or technical solutions regarding your application, do not hesitate. We are very reactive and we'll try to do our best for that. Another question coming. Two questions. The first is the age of the company. If we are a subsidiary that is new, but the parent company is older, is that a problem? The second question is about doing business in Luxembourg. Is it just formality, or does the whole team need to be physically there? I think we will split the responses. I think, Olivier, you are the best suited for this person for the second question. I will respond to the first one. The structure is that for the company applying for the funding, the company which is applying and benefiting for the funding needs to have less than 5 years. And of course, creating another entity, you pass over this issue, this requirement, I should say. And for the second one, I think
yes, Larry. Yeah, I will take up on this one. We're speaking about business development here, and it's up to you to be able to currently gauge and measure which type of resources you need in Luxembourg to be able to grow business from Luxembourg. And this links also to what Larry has responded. Depending on the entity which is currently doing the application for phase 2, you will have to create a new entity here starting from Luxembourg. So you have to show which substance you are going to operate towards this 18, 24, best case scenario in 12 months you do it. in phase 2, it must relate to currently what you will run from Luxembourg. We are not expecting if you're 100 somewhere to bring whole 100 here. We are reasonable people who understand what business development is about. And indeed, you need to have an agile team who is able to address your technical and business challenge from Luxembourg. I hope this does answer to your question.
And maybe to complement, we don't ask the entire company to relocate in Luxembourg. It's just the project that you are developing and the IP of the new project you are developing. R&D and IP.
And generally, when you see the advantages you have from Luxembourg, you grow currently the task force that you may have over here. We can only welcome you to do that. And indeed, Luxembourg is friendly for doing business friendly mode.
And of course, in the ecosystem of space resources, we currently see a lot of different projects, startup companies coming over here in Luxembourg, starting developing their activities. I will not mention here the different companies which are currently in Luxembourg, but I mean, you can find it easily through the Luxembourg Space Agency website. It will give you just an overview of what the potential market is about here in Luxembourg, just to see what will be your existing ecosystem.
Indeed, and we can welcome you also to check the current portfolio companies of Technoport, and you will see we have a representative footprint into space operations, cis-lunar or even lunar activities.
I will finalize so that we'll announce the selected first incubatee during the New Space Europe conference. So you will hear more about the current, because you will have another new companies located in Luxembourg very soon. So the 27th of October during the New Space Europe conference, potentially you will have a new partner here in Luxembourg.